My name is Giselle Carson. I am a business, immigration, and compliance attorney, and I am here to talk to you about some of the things that I think you need to know, or that my clients are asking me about this July in terms of business, immigration, and compliance. So here are the three things that I plan to talk to you about. The first one, now that the H-1B cap filing has completed, it ended June 30th. The next question that I'm getting is, okay, would there be a second lottery? Well, I am going to talk to you about that. Then the next question that I'm getting is for those that were not selected and their EADs are ending or other statuses, and they're considering day one CPT. So what does that mean? Should I enroll in day one CPT? So I'm going to tell you what I think about it. Last but not least, some of you may have heard, some of you use E-Verify. So for those of you that use E-Verify, this portion is for you. There is a new 10-day tentative non-confirmation timeline requirement. If you haven't heard about it, stay tuned and we are going to talk about that. So let's get started. Will there be a second H-1B lottery for the fiscal year 2022? Now that the the filing period for the H-1Bs that were selected during this year's registration the filing has been completed. The next question that I am getting from many is, will there be a second H-1B lottery like there was last year? And my short answer to this is going to be, my feeling is there will not be one. I'm going to talk to you about why, but first let's talk about what were the numbers and what happened this year during the H-1B lottery. First, as you know, it opened in March, and there was a registration period for a month, and by April, the filing opened. This year, every year I say this, like there cannot be more filings, but there were. If I remember correctly, 30863 or something, so over 300,000 H-1B registrations were filed. Almost over 40% of those were from advanced degree professionals. USCIS selected, so you know the cap is 85,000, and USCIS selected 87,500, meaning that they selected more than the number of registrations that they needed to fill the cap of the 85,000. And this is not unusual. USCIS has some sort of magic formula that they implement every year, and they select more petitions that they think that they're going to process, because some cases get denied, some cases get rejected, a whole bunch of things. So USCIS already has selected more petitions than they need to fill the gap. In addition to that, as some of you may have heard about the H-1B consultancies, something that I am really upset about. First, I don't believe this registration process is a way to select talent for our country, but that's besides the point. But what happens with this registration period right now, or process, is that the same individual can be petitioned or registered multiple times. So an employer can only register a person or candidate once, but that candidate can be petitioned by multiple employers without a penalty. Unfortunately, what happened this year is that appears that consultancies were created, H-1B consultancies, were not even their established employers, I believe, were selecting foreign nationals or asking foreign nationals to pay them to get into the lottery. Long story short, the result of all of this is that there were many registrations filed, more than usual, which also created a very unusual H-1B process. As a result of this, and this is something I'm happy about, just after the registration period closed, not registration, so the filing period closed, there was a group, including many Indian foreign nationals that were not selected, that have filed a lawsuit against USCIS challenging the constitutionality and the validity of the registration period as it stands, which allows, again, multiple filings for what one candidate, which was not the intent when the registration was created. So that is what is happening right now. So the filing period has ended. USCIS has been processing those H-1B petitions that were filed and will continue to do that. Hopefully they will all be adjudicated by the beginning of October. More than any other year, a number of registrations were filed. A lawsuit is in place right now to challenge that registration. So hey, stay tuned. We'll see what March of next year brings in relationship to the H-1B. But as to how I started this, would there be a second lottery? My opinion is that there will not be. And if there is one, the chances of someone getting an H-1B cap being selected on the second lottery is maybe 5%. So it's really so minimal that I don't want anyone holding on to that as their solution for an H-1B or a work visa. I am currently working with all of our clients, and I have been since the time that they were not selected, finding alternative, and we are finding alternative. They may not be the most efficient, otherwise we would have done them instead of the H-1B, but there are solutions, and some of them at the end of the day may work out better than others. So I encourage you to work with your immigration attorney to find solutions and options for your talented foreign workers. Thank you so much. What do you think about day one CPT? This is a question that I've been asked more this year than ever before. So I am going to bring you the answer as to what I think about day one CPT. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about what CPT is and what day one CPT stands for, because some of you may not know. So CPT stands for Curriculum Practical Training, and it's available for foreign students that are in the United States, enroll into a degree towards the attainment of a bachelor's or a master's degree. And they can obtain graduates, or they can obtain educational credits while also getting work experience. In the traditional method of CPT or CPT process, the foreign student cannot obtain CPT until they have been in school and finished one full year of studies. So that's CPT. Day one CPT, what it does is certain programs have created a curriculum that allows for the student to enroll or participate in CPT the first day that they begin classes. Again, so this is outside of the traditional method, and that is what creates the risk and the gray area with CPT. So why am I getting the question as to should I consider day one CPT? Well, because there are many foreign students that were not selected for the H-1B visa. They want to stay in the United States, they want to continue their studies, but they also want to work, and their employers are reaching out to me to find options for, a work status. So the option of day one CPT comes up. And to the answer as to what do I recommend about day one CPT, in short, I think day one CPT is risky. USCIS has interpreted the regulations to mean that students who have completed 1 year of full-time practical training are ineligible for any kind of practical training CPT unless they enroll in a higher educational level program. Some things to remember is that according to USCIS, and again, this is the current status of USCIS discretion and thinking, this can change, but as of today, a student who has completed a master's program followed by 1 year of practical training may be ineligible for any more practical training, including CPT, unless he or she joins a program at a higher level than a master's. So that would be a PhD. And I have looked, and my clients have looked, and there's not many day one CPT PhDs available. So other things, USCIS may find that those who pursue a day one CPT during a second master's to have violated their status. And that is why this creates a problem, because when you're trying to go from request a change of status from this day one CPT program to an H-1B, USCIS may find that you have violated your status and they will not grant that change of status or deny it or issue an RFE. It's also important to remember that CPT within the first year of a program, whether it's day one CPT or something else, it can be problematic. There should be extensive evidence if you're going to attempt to do this to establish that the CPT was an integral part of that established program that requires immediate participation. So what we're finding when we're working with this day one CPT cases, the USCIS adjudications are very unpredictable and inconsistent, particularly when we're doing a change of status. So quite often, if we think that there could be a problem, we recommend not to file for a change of status and to pursue counselor processing instead. And we have been successful doing that pre-pandemic. Now with the pandemic, it makes it a little bit more challenging, or a lot more challenging, because counselor appointments are very difficult to find and the restrictions to travel. So really, as of today, we're looking at change of status, and the results are coming back again very inconsistent, with some cases approved without a problem, no RFE, just straight approval when we're going change status from a day one CPT program to an H-1B, or some are approved after a solid RFE response, and some are just denied. So again, in short, it has been used, it is being used, it is a potential short-term solution, but it shouldn't be the go-to solution to bridge from one H-1B period to the next and keep the person in the United States. So as many other things, it depends on the circumstances, and this is one of those that I truly recommend that you work with an immigration attorney to explore options and determine whether CPT is the best option for you. I hope this is helpful. Did you know that there is a new E-Verify 10-day tentative non-confirmation timeline? If you use E-Verify and you did not know this, well, this is for you. Pay attention. Many employers have a significant amount of TNCs unresolved, and this new policy is intended to make employers more accountable for those unresolved TNCs. So before I go into the new rule, I want to talk to you about what a TNC is, just so we're on the same page. A TNC stands for Tentative Non-Confirmation, and that is issued by the E-Verify system after the employer enters the I-9 data into the E-Verify system. And E-Verify takes that data and matches it with the data that is in the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS database, and the Social Security database. If the information entered by the employer does not match the data that the government has, that creates a mismatch, and that triggers the TNC. Often, the TNC can be resolved by just looking at the data that was entered by the employer and realizing that there was an error, a typo, or something like that that could be easily fixed, and the TNC is resolved. And if that's the case, awesome, you're done. You don't need to, well, you do need to worry about it, because if you do take too long to resolve this TNC, this is where this 10-day rule comes in, okay? But let's say it is not an error. It's not a typographical error. It's something that it's a true mismatch of the data with the government. So this is what that new rule comes in. And basically what the rule says is, so first E-Verify is issued the TNC. The employer and the employee must take action as soon as possible within 10 federal government working days after the E-Verify is issued the TNC result. And that is the rule that I need you to be aware of. This is new. Within 10 federal government working days, you need to take action on this TNC. So employers, in the following slide, I just need you to pay attention if you're just listening to me, because we're going to write out the steps that you must complete according to E-Verify when you receive a TNC from the E-Verify system. It is important to remember that a TNC does not mean that the person is unauthorized to work. So you cannot terminate, suspend, delay training, withhold or lower pay, or take any other adverse action against the employee because the TNC. And if they're going to contest the TNC, the 8-day rule that they have to go to Social Security or the DHS to resolve the TNC, that rule has not been taken away, although it's kind of fairly loose right now because of the pandemic. I hope this is helpful to you and it helps you manage your E-Verify process better. What I want you to take away from this is that many employers have many unresolved TNCs, and the government is looking at that data. That's kind of why this rule is in place. So pay attention to those unresolved TNCs and try to close them and resolve them as soon as you can. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for being here with me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you on another update. Thanks. Bye-bye.